Welcome. It's a Sunday. It's a rainy Sunday here in Oklahoma. Wanted to talk about some tools we offer to actually come up with a timeline for your courses, progress tracking, if you will. It's kind of difficult since we are open entry, open exit, and you are pretty much self-paced within that framework. We're going to talk about tools today. Um, you're going to find these, they're going to be in the second or third module of every course, whether it be on the Cisco NetAcad or the Francis Tuttle Canvas. The first one we're going to talk about is this completion calendar. It really serves to, it's not very granular. It doesn't tell you what chapter to be on a certain day. It just tells you what day you're going to be finished. Um, Basically, it's a tool, and then you just calculate from there by hand. These course tracking sheets are ones that we've developed. Basically, all the courses are broken up by chapter. Um, they're assigned as tasks and dependency set up and the number of hours. We'll look at that here in a minute. And then you're going to actually submit your projected timeline for the course, when your end date should be, if you will. That course completion calendar basically is a down and dirty way to determine when you should be done with the class. I had tried doing this a lot of different ways. It's not easy unless you get the calendar out and count by hand. My predecessor came up with this, and I don't know if he invented it or if he got it somewhere else, but it's great. We develop these every year and set them up for you. Um, if you don't have a copy, just ask either myself or Mr. Clark. In the upper right hand corner, you'll notice that the 9 weeks dates are there when they start and when they end. They're by quarters. If you're a high school student, you need to be aware of those. Those are the days because of the way that we have to grade you. We have to grade you for the completion for that 9 weeks, that period of time, rather than a course or a chapter. You need to be aware of those. You need to be aware of how much you accomplished. Um, I'm working on something else for you guys to kind of help keep track of that, but we'll talk about that later. Below that are the instructions. Basically, you're going to need to find the number of the day of the course that you started the course. You're going to add the number of days for the course completion to that start date number, then combine those and come up with a number. And just for example, you're doing one of the CCNA classes, which is 150 hours. It's a real easy math. Actually, the class started on 5/18. It's a 150-hour course. Because of school activities, I didn't actually start your progress until 8/27, which is a Monday. Divide the number of hours in the class by 3. That gives you the number of days in the class. The number assigned on the chart to 8/27 has a value of 9. You add the two together. Date 29 is the day that you need to be finished, and we'll go through it. I'll kind of show you how that works. The left hand column is the weeks numbered sequentially. The next is the in green here is the date for the Monday for that week. These are a little out of line. We only count Monday through Friday, and I'll show you that here in a minute. The days that they're not class are numbered. If you'll notice, we started on 5. This is 13, 14, 15. The day that school started, we started numbering and just numbered sequentially, except for the days where there is no school down here. And they are not counted. As you notice, there's not a number. It goes 65, 66. It just skips over that holiday. We only count Monday through Friday. We don't count the weekends. There are some days that will have some numbers in there. That's new starts. That's just for our convenience to keep track of that. It also helps you figure out when you may have started, but they are counted. Notice that there is a number in that cell. Basically, all our classes are either one of three lengths, either 150 hours, 140 hours, or 130 hours. If you divide that by 3 hours, which is the length of a day, a class day, you get 50 days, 47 days, and 46. For the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to go with 50 days. Notice, remember we said 8/27 was our start date. It has a value of 9. Well, we're doing a 150-hour class. Divided by 3, it's 50. So I add 50 and 9, and I get 59. This is the day that I should be finished with this class. Then I come over to the week, the relevant week, which is 11/5. So 56 is 11/5. The next one is 11/6, 11/7, 11/8. So my end date is 11/8. It's pretty simple if you can add and divide. The next thing we're going to look at is a little bit more complicated. We're going to look at some Microsoft project files. I've already established a base calendar for the class and the district. It's a lot more granular. It actually allows you to see what chapter you should be working on any given week. If you click through that course progress worksheets, you'll notice that there are a couple Microsoft worksheets. There are some people that are on accommodations. Typically, that's adjusted 25%. If for some reason your accommodation is a little different, you need to talk to myself or one of the other instructors. I've also given you some examples of the work product that you're going to turn in for different start dates. And I'll show you how this is actually on the deliverables. You can change that here in the Microsoft project worksheets, and I'll show you that here in a minute. When you open the template, you'll notice that all the chapters are here in the final exam. The left side is going to be what they call the task list. Basically what I've done is I've taken the number of chapters in the final exam, which is 11, divided that into 150 to come up with a duration. It's not exact, but it does a pretty good job. You'll notice over on the right hand side the differences in the blocks. Each task is going to be slightly different because it's going to have holidays or weekends, so it may be shorter or longer. The way that this is all set up, and this is the 17-18 calendar, the ones you have will actually have the 18-19 calendar in it. I've gone in and set up a calendar. I've gone in and said I do not work on weekends. Okay, you know, it's just kind of like the completion calendar. We just ignored the weekends. I went in and set up all the holidays from the Francis Tuttle calendar and put them in as non-working days. The other thing is you'll notice I've got the working days. Oops, the working days set up as 8 to 10:55. It's really set up for the AM, but it will work for either the AM or PM. And since we don't cross over, it won't make a difference. That's the default work week is going to be 5 days a week, 8 to 10:55. One of the things that makes this work is each chapter is dependent on the previous chapter. In the terms of project and project management, it's its predecessor. And you'll notice here on chapter 2, I've got its predecessor set up as chapter 1. So in other words, you can't start chapter 2 until you started chapter 1. This makes sense. You go in and you're going to change your start date. Basically, you just click on this down button and there's a pulls up a calendar. This is the new second start date. And notice it's adjusted all these dates accordingly. Those of you that are returning and actually had a class that you did not quite finish up, and in this example, I believe this is CCNA 2. Um, the way that you are going to do that is you're going to go in and you're going to figure out how many chapters you finished. In this case, chapters 1 through 5. And so all we're doing is 6 through the final exam. Go in and highlight those, delete them. Come in, change your start date, and it adjusts everything. You should be, in this case, you're finishing chapter 6 through 10, and the final, from starting in September, should be done in October, towards the end of October. Then you're going to turn around, and I put some examples in there. You're going to put it in a deliverable format, and we're going to print it and sign it. And this is one particular one is for the IT Essentials. It's a 140-hour course. You would put your name and student, the start date, and that's going to vary. The projected end date that you came up from. I personally like going ahead and you copy those cells out of project and paste them in a Word doc. There's a signature line and when you dated it, and you're going to submit that. One of the things I want to do is to help you with this, we're going to actually do a Microsoft project assignment. It's going to be based on Lab 137 out of IT Essentials, Part B of that. Build a specialized computer system. Basically, that had you build some different pick the components for some different specialized computers. However, this time instead of focusing on the selection of the parts and the prices, we're going to look at developing a timeline for assembling the computers. That's just as important as the dollar cost of a particular item. Rather than a single customer, you're going to be working for a company that wants to build their own CAD stations. They're going to have about 100 employees. You'll need to create a series of tasks and project and then assign them estimated time to complete. You're going to have to establish dependencies, what things have to be done before the others. In other words, for example, you cannot start assembling the computer until the parts get here. I'm going to define and spell out some of the basic steps that you will have to include. You can take it as far as you want to from there. I will tell you what the base requirements are. Then you're going to turn around and you're going to submit that project file. That'll probably be in the capstone class rather than the individual courses. But I want to make sure you guys start getting in the habit of using project. Probably will hopefully get you guys to start using that in your Skills USA projects. It's a great tool. It's a very marketable skill along with Visio. So that's kind of the overview of a couple of the tools. We will be talking more in depth in this in class, but I just wanted to do a little presentation. Welcome, welcome to the wild world of project management. Anyway, well, thank you very much, and I hope you'll come back.